How's that mustache? Hi everyone, my name is Fany Gerson. I am a pastry chef, cookbook author, and entrepreneur, and a mom, most importantly. I am from Mexico City, but I'm based in New York, and I'm very excited to be here at King Arthur to talk about pan dulce, Mexican sweetbreads. I've put together a collection of some of the most iconic ones from Mexico, and today we're going to be talking about one of my personal favorites called bigotes. So bigotes translate into mustache, and you can find really large ones, really small ones, but I'm going to show you how to make them, and you can tweak them to whatever kind of mustache you like best. We're going to get started and make the dough. I'm gonna measure out my bread flour. So we're just gonna put all the dry ingredients, and then we're gonna add the butter. So you want the butter to be chilled and in small pieces, and we're gonna add it to this, and it's gonna kind of break apart. And you want those little lumps to be there, kind of like if you've ever made pie dough. It looks crumbly, kind of sandy, so it's very important that this is chilled, then you're gonna be good. So while that mixes, we're going to put all our wet ingredients together. You don't need to like whip it or anything, it just needs to be well combined. So we have the egg, milk, the vanilla. I don't know, ever since I was a little kid, I always I can't open it without doing this. And my son and I do a lot of baking, and this is one of his favorite flavors, you know. This is the smell of childhood for me. And you can see how it starts to be crumbly, and that's kind of what you want. So that looks great. And now I'm gonna slowly add our liquids while it's still mixing. So you're just gonna make sure everything starts, you're gonna see it starts coming off the sides, and then you're ready to go. You're gonna lightly flour your surface, and you're just gonna knead it a little bit to bring it all together. You're just trying to incorporate enough flour so that it doesn't stick to the palm of your hand. The dough is going to tell you how much it needs. Let it talk to you. And then you wanna do this part fast, because you have all that nice butter in there, and you want to keep those tiny little pieces. That's going to create the flakiness. Now we're going to wrap this up. Make sure it's well wrapped all around, but you don't want it to have too tight because it's going to expand. So we're going to chill this for about 3 hours, and then we're going to do some fold, which is what's going to create the layers of the dough. And so you just have to be patient. So now sit back and relax. So our dough has been cooling and resting in the fridge for about 3 hours. Now we're just going to unwrap it. And then you don't want to throw this out because you're going to use it again. What you want to do is you want to start from the center out. Doesn't matter which direction. And at first, instead of just starting to roll it, we're actually going to hit it a little first. That's just going to help roll it out easier. So, and you want to do that just because it's a little bit cold. And then you're going to want to flip it. Just try to make sure that it's as even as possible. And I always like to give it a little extra love. You remove the excess flour at the same time, and then you're going to fold it. And if you find there's a part like this that's a little bit, kind of short, you can always just pull it a little bit. Okay, then you're gonna do that. And this one, you wanna pull a little bit so it tucks right at the end. At this point, we're gonna turn it around this way, but we're gonna do exactly the same thing as we did before. And then, so you're gonna fold it again, like an envelope. Yeah, so we're gonna tuck this part a little bit. And then we're gonna wrap this up, and we're gonna rest again for another 1 to 2 hours. And then we're gonna repeat the folding process one more for a total of 3 turns. Ready to go. So the dough has been resting in the fridge for about 2 hours now, and we're gonna do our last fold. I love croissants and I love making croissants, but they're like a large production. So this is kind of like a good little intro to a whole sort of folding lamination dough, but this is a much simpler dough. It's not very complicated. And then all you need is just to have a little bit of patience in the results. It's gonna be so pillowy and delicious and full of flavor. It's gonna have a beautiful bite. So we're getting ready to do our last fold. And I always like to remove the excess flour, and then you're gonna fold it. Remove the excess flour, and then you're gonna put this, fold it again. You're gonna tuck it a little bit. And we're gonna wrap this again with the plastic that you saved. So now it's ready to go into the fridge. We're gonna keep it there overnight, and then tomorrow you're gonna continue and finish your bigotes. We have our dough ready that rested overnight, and we're going to start to shape it. All right, so we're gonna lightly flour our surface. And I love how you can see all the little specks of butter. That means it's gonna be really nice and flaky. Okay, now you're gonna see some like bubbles here. That tells me the yeast was working. So you wanna make sure as you roll it that you pick it up from time to time, because this dough is soft, it can get a little bit sticky. And it's nice and smooth, it's a little bit elastic. So that's exactly what you're looking for. And then here you can turn it around. I find it easier to work it this way, but again, you can do it the other way. You know, don't stress about it. And if you're using a ruler, I like to use it to help me trim the edges. And I like to put a little bit of flour on the knife. And then before I cut it, I kind of like to just score it, you know, just to marks. If you want to be really exact, you can use a ruler. It's up to you. And then I like to start in the middle. And again, you can use a pizza cutter or a knife. And then I'm going to cut diagonally each one. And as you're taking off the excess, you're stretching it a little bit. So you have this triangular shape, kind of like a very long wizard's hat. And then you're going to make a little slit. Then as you do the slit, you're going to roll kind of outwards. So we're going to roll these out. And then you want to roll them out so that they're tight, but not too tight. Mexican breads are very playful. Mexican culture is very playful and, you know, kind of rustic. It's not meant to be so exact, so precise. It's meant to be just loose and fun. So as you shape these, don't worry so much about do they have the exact number of coils in each one. Don't worry about that. Just have fun with it. Now we're gonna cover it and we're gonna proof it for 1.5 hours to 2 hours till it doubles. And you don't need to put them like on top of the oven if you don't have a proofer. I certainly don't have a proofer in my New York apartment. You just want kind of like a warm place. It depends on where you are, but it should take about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. All right, so these have been proofing for about 1 hour and 40 minutes, but they're ready. And the way you can tell they're ready is they feel light, but not like they're going to deflate after I touch them, because that happens when they're overproofed. These are ready to go in. We're gonna put them for 5 minutes in a hot oven. It's at 400 degrees. And after 5 minutes, we're gonna turn it down to 350, and we're gonna cook them until they're nice and golden on the bottom. And you wanna just check them, you know, about 10 minutes in, give them a little flip, and we're not gonna put any egg wash or anything on top, so it's not gonna look shiny, but that's okay, because that's part of the bigotes, and you're gonna see why in a little bit. Yay! All right, so it's been about 15 minutes. We're gonna check on them. Beautiful. So they're nice and golden on the top, but we wanna make sure they're nice and golden underneath. Perfect. All right, so now our bigotes have cooled a little bit, but you still want to use them when they're warm. So you can use a glove if you want, if you don't like to get messy, but I really like to get messy. You know, I actually, whether I like it or not, I am always messy. I can't avoid that. And then traditionally, bigotes are rolled in just granulated sugar, but I have a few different sugars because I just wanted to show you the possibilities of what you can do. You can try different things. So here we have cinnamon sugar, where we've mixed that delicious cinnamon from King Arthur. I made a lime sugar, and then I just mixed sugar with cocoa powder. Whatever you do, it's gonna be delicious. The butter is essentially like a glue to your sugar. But what you want to make sure is that you get all the little creases inside. So once that is fully brushed, you're going to take it, and then with your hand, you're just going to put some sugar. How good does that look? I can't wait to try it. So we're going to do a few with just the regular sugar, and I'm going to do a few with the different ones, just for a little variety's sake. So one important thing is that you want to butter and sugar them one by one, because if you butter them all first and then add the sugar, sometimes it will absorb too much and it'll be too dry, so it won't really stick as well. I know it's a little more time consuming or messy, but I feel it gives you a much better result. So now we have lots and lots of delicious bigotes, and I can't wait to eat one. Which one do I want to try first? This one it's still warm. You can see the layers, which is what we were hoping for when we do the different folds, but it's still super soft. You can see it's kind of like spongy. The outside, you know, it's a little bit crispier, but it's not crispy the way that a croissant is. And it pulls apart really easily. This is so delicious. And this is just this is the classic one with just the butter and sugar, and it's just perfect. It's just very light. It's spongy. It has a bite to it. It has that delicious buttery finish, and the sugar that's just gonna give you, now I think maybe it's like a double bigote, right? Like it has the shape, and then it's gonna give you a sugar bigote. It's so good. I can't wait for you guys to try these. The cocoa kind of melts, and it really tastes kind of chocolatey, but in just the perfect balance. And even though it has like a lot of sugar, like it's completely covered with sugar, it's not overly sweet, because for the most part, the bread itself is not particularly sweet. You get the sweetness from the different fillings, from the different toppings, and so this bread just is perfectly balanced. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed it. Now I'm gonna go and finish these off. Bye.